fancy with it. So obviously climate change is being affected by electric vehicles, regular cars, and trains, buses, motorcycles, whatever. Even if you had a wheelchair with a jet engine strapped to it. But, so we got three problems here. Obviously, climate change is being sped up. It's like climate change is already going to happen on its own. But with fossil fuels, it's like a plane swooping in. And problem two is, how do we alleviate, reduce, or even slow, I guess, not really stop, but completely slow, not completely, Christ. Slow down climate change to where it's, controllable and not at risk of, being on the right side of the picture here, on a burning planet. And, well, the third problem is, obviously, fossil fuel and electric vehicles are bad for the environment. Even though electric vehicles, they do offer less strain on the environment in the long run, even though it's like electric vehicles, once you make them, they're made. You can recharge them constantly, but it's putting all that environmental strain elsewhere, because you got the power plants that have to make that power for electrical grid. And cars, you just need gas. You can go anywhere, put gas in, 20 bucks. All right, so, whoops. Possible solution would be public transportation. I mean, it's kind of hard getting on a public bus because nobody wants to sit outside or the bus stop, sitting there for like an hour and a half waiting for a bus to come. But it could possibly be more effective than an electric vehicle when it comes to climate change. But all right, starting with climate change, it's bound to happen regardless. But thanks to fossil fuel usage over the past few hundred years, climate change has been connected to a supercharger and gone into overdrive. Until someone finds the most effective way to combat and slow down climate change, it'll continue to be a nearly unstoppable train of doom. But electric vehicles have managed to get their foot in the door as a way to combat it. They've always been around. And in the Bethany Groff Doraw's article, Electric Vehicles Overview, electric vehicles have existed in many forms since the mid-1800s. However, in many cases, especially the automobile market, they were long overshadowed by fossil fuel-powered internal combustion. God, that's a mouthful. Fossil fuel-powered internal combustion engine vehicles. In the 21st century, and growing environmental concerns over the burning of fossil fuels, EVs and electric cars in general gained increasing attention. Even though electric vehicles may seem to be better than fossil fuel vehicles, electric vehicles only, only focus the energy strain elsewhere. Although electric vehicles have become far more advanced than what they were in the past, they put their cards elsewhere, as Doral states in her article. However, not everyone has viewed EVs as a clear solution to environmental problems. Some critics note that EVs simply divert energy use to electrical power plants, which are often powered by, once again, fossil fuels. Therefore, although electrical vehicles do provide a safer alternative to everyday vehicular usage, the environmental damage is placed elsewhere, and the resources required to make an electric vehicle are hazardous and damaging to the environment to obtain. Even though electric vehicles bring a small solution to climate change, in the long run they are still harmful to produce and put significantly more strain on the electrical grid. As stated in Doral's article, some critics note that EVs simply divert energy use to electrical power plants, which are often powered by, for the third time, you're going to hear it a lot, fossil fuels. Activists have also raised concerns over the extraction of raw materials needed for EVs, which can have negative environmental impacts as well as human rights implications, and the disposal of batteries. Even though other governments have practically mandated vehicles to become the new cars on the street, some governments, like the US in particular, cough cough, have slowed down and fallen behind. As stated in a Points of View article, the government must do more to speed electric vehicle adoption in the US. supporters of the widespread adoption of electric vehicles, parentheses, EVs, often point above all to the environmental advantages of electrical power. Multiple studies have shown that EVs have less environmental impact across their entire lifespan than an internal combustion vehicle. Even when accounting for raw materials and electricity generated by fossil fuel power plants, apart from having significant benefits, there are a lot more downsides to having such vehicles in the US than compared to other countries. In another Points of View article, it states that, counterpoint, the US electric vehicle transition faces problems beyond supply and demand. For one, the charging infrastructure needed for widespread consumer use of EVs was woefully inadequate in the early 2020s. In order to even begin replacing the ubiquitous gas station with charging stations, major changes would need to be made at a national level, a process that would likely take years, if not decades. Further illuminating the problems trying to adopt an electric vehicle market and infrastructure would take, the same Points of View article states that critics have also pointed out other issues around EV charging technology as well. Users have found that public chargers are frequently broken and others are often locked inside garages or other places that are not always accessible. Advocates have raised concerns that even as charging stations proliferate, they tend to be in wealthier areas, which contributes to and exacerbates inequality problems, as does the general cost of EVs. So, there's a major hurdle standing between the complete adoption of the electric vehicle in the US and the issues that it will bring. What else can be done? Public transportation. You got your buses, planes, trains. Oh man. Everybody knows the stereotypical crowded trains with people falling asleep on one another. The businessmen and businesswomen with their suitcases, constantly checking their watches as if the train will be going any faster. Or the bus that some unlucky gentleman or lady had missed, that's probably running after it. Or had to wait for the next one due to the first one being crowded enough. All stuff to the wall like a can of sardines. Public transportation brings a lot more benefits than either electric vehicles or other alternative transport methods. As stated in a third Points of View article, in mass transit or public transportation systems, a shared vehicle, be it a ferry, a bus, trolley, or train, is employed to move people across a metropolitan region on a particular route and schedule. The goal is to increase efficiency and lower costs by pooling resources and building the necessary infrastructure. Therefore, public transportation could potentially be the solution that everybody is looking for, even if it would require massive infrastructure redesign. Even when a new road or interstate is developed, roads in general bring an elephant into the room. That elephant is traffic jams, road maintenance, and road materials, your tarmac, oils, etc. Whatever they make roads with, rocks, I don't know. Last, whatever is decided to be the next step in countering climate change will require a lot of development and redesigning of the entire infrastructural network.
Good job.